Hey everyone, Justin and Eric here from Coalition Gaming. Today we're going to bring you the intro video to the start of the Mordheim campaign that we briefly had talked about that we wanted to set up come this winter. We actually have 5 committed players. I say committed now, the campaign hasn't started, but 5 committed players as of now. Anyone who's ever put a campaign together knows how hard it is to get that to happen. And we may have some others coming through, but right now it's looking like 5 of us. What we want to do in this video is just a quick intro of how we're going to be running the campaign, some minor changes to what we're doing to the rules, talk a little bit about some specialty stuff that we're doing specifically for us, and then I'm going to wrap up this video with a short video segments of everybody kind of showcasing the warbands. Hopefully by the time this is edited and posted up, I've received all those so I can throw them on the end here. But giving everybody the chance to show the warband off, explain what type of equipment they have to start the campaign, and a little fluff of whatever they have behind that. So how we're running the campaigns, to simplify things, all of the games, all the scenarios, everything we do, we're just going to play on a 4x4 table. We know some people do 6x4, some have done smaller 3x3s. We're just going to simplify it 4x4, makes it easy from there. We're going to be playing in rounds. And the way we're going to do that is 1 month, 30 days, give or take, will be considered a round. And to make it easy and fair for everybody, the way we're running that round is we're going to do that for every 2 unique games that you play that month, you're going to get to play and unlock 1 dungeon crawl. And we're going to talk a little bit about the dungeon crawls here at towards the end of this. That is Eric's brainchild, so I'm letting him take it over, but it's something kind of cool that we're doing just to add a little bit extra zest to the campaign. But what we mean by unique games is when you get this type of campaign going, you can get into a rut where one person is always playing the same person because that's how their schedules line up, they're close locally, whatever the case may be. We want to do it that a unique game is every new person you play. So to unlock a dungeon crawl, which we'll be talking about, you have to play 2 different people in that month. And that will unlock some bonus missions and things that we're going to talk about. But we want to try to make it so things don't become stagnant, obviously for the viewers and more importantly for us playing the game. So that's how we're going to handle it. And then at the end of that round, end of the month, we're going to tally up all the games. Obviously we'll be keeping track of that as we go. But we're going to tally up everything at the end of that month and kind of post where people are standing with things and warband ratings and things of that nature. We're sticking fairly close to the standard Mordheim rules. If you're not familiar with Mordheim and this is kind of something new you're just checking out, check out broheim.com. We'll have the link in the description of this video. It has all of the rules posted, the scenarios, any special extended campaign stuff, all of the official warbands and unofficial warbands. We are allowing unofficial warbands to be played. Simply because I petitioned, because I play Beastman, and I want to play my Beastman. So we're allowing all of them. All that stuff is on our website. It's a great universal tool for all of that. Some small changes we're doing to the campaign, and those familiar will understand these. We're starting our warbands at 0 experience, straight off the mark. When you build a warband, technically your heroes start with a certain level of experience points to make it even across the board and just to make it more interesting. We're starting them all at 0. They're all fresh warbands. The chieftain just rallied these guys together, and it just makes it easy. One of the other things we're doing, and I've seen it played both ways, the rule book kind of sort of says how to do it, but for spellcasters, you're not going to see them here in the warbands when we're showing them talking about what spells they have. The first game they play, the individuals play for the campaign, they will roll randomly on their charts for their spells. That is the spell they have for the entire campaign. Now obviously as the campaign goes on and your spellcaster can level up, there's a chance of getting other spells, and we'll roll those randomly as we go. But we wanted to kind of keep it interesting and fair, that everybody starts with 1 random and goes with that. So that's really it for rules. Again, we're following the standard rules and the standard rules for campaigning. We have a little bit of some different stuff we're going to talk about here next. We did a small playtest campaign
last winter.
And by small, it was 3 people. Well, we had like 6 people say yup, and 3 people played. Which problem with running campaigns. So some things we've noticed is some specific war bands can be very selective when it comes to their armory choices, when it comes to their spells, when it comes to their weapons, armor. Obviously, armor choice, already said that.
Great example is your war band they're only allowed a short bow.
Yeah.
So Justin had asked, what do you guys have any problems with me running a longbow? We said no, just pay the gold for it, the crowns, and you can use it. It wasn't anything like over the top. It wasn't going to like win them a game or anything, but it kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, because as we found out, beastmen are fairly expensive.
Yeah, they're a little pricey.
Also tend to die quite easily, especially their chieftain. So.
It's only happened several times.
Bankrupt Justin. So, but that was one of the things we found out was the war gear that was available. So we also decided this year to create a system, because we've had a few other people ask. We got a player who plays Bretonnians. We know we got someone who plays Skaven. We know somebody who's looking at dwarves. And some other war bands, and even the unofficial ones. So what we're doing is we're setting up a merchant system. Now that merchant system is going to be based off of our bank system that we created last year. Last year we actually used arcade tokens that we repainted and used them as our crowns, and you had your purse. So during a game, at the end of the game, you could cash out your weird stone, any weapons you found, anything that wasn't going to be useful to you, just like the rule stated, you could cash those out. Now, cashing them out and having the coins in your hand was actually a really good idea for myself, and I don't know about anybody else, but it was really interesting to sit there and say, okay, well, I like this little bag of coins I've got now, and I don't want to risk this. Or if you were out of gold, you could actually go to, we called it the Iron Bank from Game of Thrones, but you could actually go and get a loan from them. High interest loan, but you can go get one. So we were looking at a merchant system for that. And there are merchant rules in the core rules and some of the expansions. We are going to expand on that as well. Like Justin had said about using spellcasters. I play witch hunters, so we got to burn the heretics. So I got to keep them all happy here.
It's not cool enough to have spells.
So, well, yeah. So what we decided to do was, during this campaign, we're actually going to have like a magic shop, if you will, or you can actually go to a library and get tomes and figure out new spells. So it keeps, like Justin said, it keeps everything fresh so people don't get stagnant with their characters. One of the big changes that we've discussed was that in the event that your spellcaster dies, the premise, and this goes for everybody in the game that's playing the campaign, your spellcaster, even though their body dies, their spirit will actually inhabit the body of the next spellcaster you have, so you do not lose your spells. Normally you'd have to start all over again. That was one thing we noticed last year in playtesting. It got very expensive for some of us to lose a hero, for whatever reason, and it really hurts as far as the crowns go and your experience when you lose your character and they were carrying all your best gear and they were killed by something as simple as a hound or a shot across the table from, and that's how Mordheim is. But I'll admit, I kind of abused it a little bit and forced some people into some debt just from the way I was playing. So we've decided to kind of, branch that out and carry it along so that now you're not going to be penalized as much.
Stupid hounds.
Throwaway dogs, gotta love them. I'm a dog person. So, with that said, one of the other things that came up that we decided to make it fun, because we all couldn't meet all the time, which is where Justin was talking about the dungeon crawls. Fortunately, I have a huge collection of Dwarfen Forge resin terrain. And I mean, a lot, because I could probably fill this 4x6 table with Dwarfen Forge right now. We've actually run some games. We'll put some pictures up of some games we had last year. But the dungeon crawls are basically run with a player who's going down there for experience. It's based off your warband size. So you go down in and you're just searching catacombs. You're searching a dungeon. It's no different than playing Diablo. For those of you who played Diablo 1 through 3, we have little chests and stuff, and there's special rules that we created that I think are very, very balanced. You know, depending on how you're playing and how you're running, it's a percentage and dice base, so it's completely random in what you're getting. But the big thing is you can gain a lot of experience. So you may lose a character and lose all your experience, but then you can actually run them in a dungeon crawl, and you can build up their experience again, which is very nice. And if you can't, last year if you couldn't get a game in, it was a great way just to keep the game moving. Excuse me. One of the big things that we created with the dungeon crawl, though, was that a hero, a dramatis persona, cannot be killed or harmed permanently during the dungeon crawl. So they are really at no risk during the game. Now, henchmen or animals can be killed or harmed, so they are at risk because they're throwaway characters, in our opinion.
Which is cool because that allows you to just take down your heroes and characters if you want, if you're just looking, you know, for a quick bank. And obviously the way the rules are written, once those guys are knocked out, the crawl ends, or after so many turns. So when you got a really large catacomb like his talking with all these different rooms and secret tunnels, you may not get all the way till the very end to get the best amount of treasure. So you could chance taking all your henchmen down, but then you could chance having to pay for taking what you just won and buying all the stuff you started with at the beginning of it. So it gives it that dealer's choice to decide what you really want to do. If you want to go for gold, or if you want to go for the the supermarket dash of what you can get in the time that you got allotted. So, and
especially Weirdstone. I mean, that was we actually collected a little bit of Weirdstone during those games, but the big thing was crowns and weapons. I think for my witch hunters, I wasn't even really going for crowns anymore. I was just going down there to get loot because I was just like, oh, what else can I get? What else can I generate? Some of the things that we can that occur during it there's go to the page here. There's skeletons, there's specters, and each thing that you come across, they actually have a stat line, and it's completely random in how many you generate. I think in one game we had every room somebody, I don't remember who it was you or if it was somebody else.
Skeletons chasing me down always.
They were and there were at one point there were like 20 skeletons. Yep. Now they can only move so fast, so you can get away from them. But you gained one experience point, which is huge in Mordheim, for every skeleton you killed. Yeah. And you could spend it was free experience. It wasn't just for that character. So
again, that gives the freedom of you could run into one tomb and close the door behind you so you can get away from the skeletons, but then you're losing out some experience points, or you try to do a last stand and kill them all.
Yep.
And the cool thing is, and I don't want to step into the sentence, one of the cool things about it is the dungeon crawls can be played with one person and a GM. He made it that all the different stats, again, from the specters to the skeletons, so we talked about giant rats, to all kinds of stuff.
Beast and everything.
Yep, they have a standard movement. They have a whole stat line, but then they have a standard way that they act.
There's guidelines.
There's guidelines.
The
GM, so you can sit down and you can get a hold of a GM or somebody and say, hey, I'm running a dungeon crawl. I need you to GM this time. And there's no favoritism, I guess you can say, per player. There's no, I'm getting together with Eric and he's going to run a dungeon crawl for me and be generous on how the skeletons chase me. Nope, there's a standard guideline and set of how they move. Which makes it really interesting and unique, I think.
And because of how we played it last year, we kind of learned, so if we see someone come in from a dungeon crawl and they say they've got 40 experience points, we were going to look at them and say, nah, that's a little high. Now, if they come in and say, oh man, I only got 3, and we'd say to them, okay, well explain to us how you played it because you should have gotten more than that.
Trip going down the steps.
Yeah, I think that actually happened to somebody. They died like right off. I think it was one of my guys. He died right off the bat.
Yeah, all the treasures and chests are booby traps. So yeah.
So
I've lost people that way.
It's a fun game, and the dungeon crawl's nice. Now, one of the other things that we're going to talk about is we're going to have a bounty system. Now, that's not a bounty on another player. There are in Mordheim we play on a. Our main table is actually a 4x4 graveyard that I've made out of the Garden of Moor set from GW and some other, ANSI and some other places, Anthracites. So that's primarily where we play. Now we also go out to some of the villages around Mordheim, because you got to go out there and kind of see what's going on. You got to see the wilderness. So we have this bounty system set up because those small towns, they're terrorized by beasts. Some of those beasts are, we've got the big, huge Forge World rock troll, whatever thing it is. I don't know. I got it years ago.
I think it's awesome.
It's huge. I just have to finish painting it, and we're good to go.
I think he just pulled a boulder out from his backyard and put eyes on it, but that's just me.
Googly eyes. I also have, the big Forge World spider thing. I got that. I don't even remember where I got that from. I got to finish putting that together. And I also there's a werewolf I got from Forge World as well. So these are all like special pieces to me that go on my display cabinet when I'm done. But the nice thing is we're going to put a bounty. There's going to be a bounty every month on one of these special characters. So you can decide, I'm going to play the bounty this game. That's another GM game. Now we'd set up, and GM games will probably be down at the Cove, the Alchemist Cove and Haven, or Hooked on Comics if we get down there, or some other stores. We prefer to do those out in public because that's where people are really going to see it and really get interested. Part of the allure of that is you're going to have to battle the monster, and you're going to do it in a town setting. There's going to be buildings around. Now it's not like typical Mordheim where it's the place is falling apart, it's wrecked. This is where people live. This is where villagers are. So we might even have some villager models that are sitting around, on the table that you have to save. That you have to, kill the beast or find the beast. The best part of this is, to do a bounty, you need to get another warband to go with you. And you will decide who that warband is. So you have to partner with somebody. So these are the same people that you're playing against.
And let the negotiations begin, because you might want to take somebody who's got the highest warband rating at that time, that's got the best skills. And if that's Eric, he can counter and say, that's fine, but I want 75% of that bounty if I'm going with you. So you have to negotiate and maybe come across the aisle and become friends with somebody you just had a battle with.
And might have raked over the coals severely. That's one of the nice things is we're trying to set this up so it's totally fair and it keeps everybody involved with everybody else. So for those special games, and this is why we're going to do them preferably in a store, you need 3 people, 2 people to play the game, 1 person to GM it, and those rules are all going to be posted. Those bounties will be posted. The bounties are going to be hilarious. Like some of them might be special war gear. Some of them might be crowns. Some of them might just be the thanks. You may not know what some of them are. They might just be the thanks of the townsfolk, which at that point you could say, I'm going to rob you.
As Beastman, do I get to pick a townsfolk to take back to my sacrifice?
You could do that. I mean, it could be anything. So it really depends. Now, and we're not going to have it set up so that I can't my witch hunters can't partner with Beastman. Or I can't partner with a chaos player. There might be ulterior motives why I'm partnering with a chaos player. I might want to try to get to one of their high level, people, or might want to put my own little mole in, or vice versa. They might just want to try to corrupt one of my characters.
Send them out to slaughter so they get killed first and
exactly.
Some experience.
So that's something that's going to be out there for us. Is there? I can't think of anything else right now. There's a lot that we're going to be doing. Last year, this campaign was a lot of fun. Yeah. I know for me and I know for you.
I really enjoy this. This is one of the systems I wish would come back in force, and that's kind of why we're looking to do this. That's it. This video is just to kind of give you a brief overview of how we're going to be kind of laying things out and what to expect from us. One thing I will say is, obviously, I know personally, I don't know about you, every game I play, I'm going to try to record. Maybe not an entire thing, but I'm going to be trying to put bat reps. We're going to strongly encourage that to all the players, just because we want to keep you guys going. So we're going to try to keep posting these as they go, and keep you up to the loop, probably at the end of each month with just an update of where the war bands sit, and even if it's a quick 5-10 minute video. Yeah,
they're not going to be huge, game by game. We're not expecting that of everybody. A lot of this is going to be on a private Facebook group. So if you don't have access to that group, Don't get disheartened. If you'd like access to it, like you're from Alaska or China or some other place, and you just want to see what we're doing, because we have our dungeon crawl rules are up there. We're gonna have our bounty rules up there. Everything's gonna be up there. We can add you. You just won't be a contributing member unless you want to contribute.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
your own group.
most of the stuff you're going to see on in that private one is us just doing the coordination of the events and who's playing who and all of that. Obviously, we'll be updating the public Facebook page, Cold Legion Gaming on Facebook. Check it out. That's where we'll be posting a lot of the updates. But yeah, the private one is where a lot of the meat and potatoes is going to be. And again, if you like what you see in that, PM us with, hey, this is really cool. Can I get a part of that link? Because I'd like to look up the dungeon crawl rules and tweak some things, or we want to play it at our group. So I think that's kind of it. Like I said, following this, we're going to kind of patch together some warband videos so you can see what everybody's starting with the warband, any fluff they have behind it. Check out their gear and see who's going to the slaughter. So, witch hunters. So yeah, I think that's it. So stay tuned as we get into the actual warbands here.
See ya.
Alright, so here we have the Mighty Beastmen warband named Razbul Amulu, which means Bane of Man in Romanian. I don't know why I picked that, I just thought it sounded cool. So what we have starting is we have my chieftain here. His name is Devorator. He has double hand weapon, heavy armor, and helmet. He's obviously going to be my leader chieftain. Next to him we have Kel Paternik, my shaman. He is going to be modeled with the battle axe. Obviously he is a wizard. And then we have two more heroes here. We have Flagel and Kral. They're set up exactly the same. Double hand weapon, light armor on both of them to start. They're my Beastagors. And then we have two small groups of henchmen. The first one here are two Gore armed with double axes. And then we have my two Ungors armed with short bow. That rounds out my 500 points starting warband exactly. I got some puppy dogs here, my hounds that I'll be adding on eventually. We've learned the importance and the fun of a cheap throwaway warhound unit, and they're pretty BA, so that's going to be probably my next thing to add. But that will be my starting 500 point warband for the Beastmen.
So here's what we got. This is my entire warband. I made it when we first started Mordheim. So what my goal was to take my witch hunters and do every possible option. So you'll see this is a huge warband. I only ever put out 4 or 5 models at a time, and I do it based off of what they're armed with. So we're going to start off with, I've got my 5 hounds. Those are actually Warlord Games Mastiffs. They actually worked really good. Originally I got some Lord of the Rings Warg hounds, and I was sculpting on them and stuff, and then I put them next to the model and they were like a horse. So I said, okay, I need something a little smaller. Happened to see these, and they did a excuse me, free shipping offer, so I jumped at the chance, and so I just painted them up real quick. I think they look really nice. Like Justin had said in his video, they're a very cheap throwaway unit. So they usually I usually run 2 of them with my captain here, and he's just how I play him just as he's armed. I also have my witch hunter here with the hat and the big feather, the pimp hat as I call it. And I've got some other witch hunters that have like hammers, books, double-handed weapons. I got this scythe over here that I made. I also have a unit for when I need to have a horse. So they have a mount, but I also gave him a scythe, so he's basically the same guy as this one, so I can interswap them during games. Some of the other stuff I have some henchmen over here that I made out of the Empire Battalion box that I had at the time. I've got an engineer back over here for my black powder weapons. I've got some dual wield hammers. So there's a little bit of everything. And then I've got this guy here that he's kind of, for purifying. He's just got a book, and he looks like he's doing the Blessing of Sigmar on whatever he needs to. But the real big thing that everybody kind of freaks out about, on the back half here are actually my hired thugs. So one of the things that I was fortunate enough to do is I actually got Johann the Knife. I have his model, so he's done up. I also have a Hobbit, the little halfling, so he's my little sneaky dude. I also used a Lord of the Rings Bard model for my archer. He's kind of like my ranger. And I actually used a Lord of the Rings model for my dwarf, who happens to be dual-wield axes, just because he's red and crazy like that. I have a questing knight back here, which is actually from 40K Witch Hunters. I just ground off a lot of the detail and stuff. And then the one thing that everybody always kinds of whines about is my ogre. So he's actually like a resculpt of the plastic plague prince demon HQ guy from 40K. I've actually done a lot of green stuff to him. You'll notice that he's got chainmail on him. He's got big old pauldrons on, and that's all stuff that I did. I was actually very happy with the way he turned out. I've got another one of those models to use as another one if I ever hire one. I haven't even used like these guys in a game yet. I just did them because they were cool, and if I ever wanted to use them. So, that's my overall warband. I'll post up a picture of my 500 crowns. I'm still trying to work out what I'm going to use. But since I actually have all my stuff done, I get to work on all the bad guys and everything else. And we'll actually throw up some of the specters that we have that are already done and ready. We used them last year. So that's my warband, and hope you guys like it. Thanks.
Enter at your own risk. We sure will. On our way to Mordheim, once again, the illustrious Hellspire Club. Reichlanders, recruited out of the Hellspire in Reichland. This band of adventurers has been ongoing for many years. So many so that it is thought of as an elite club, a rite of passage for those in Hellspire, who sort of see themselves as an adventurer, a hero, looking for gold, the chance to earn fame and fortune, and so much more can be found in Mordheim. As you see behind us, one of the many cemeteries that litter Hellspire. So who will be entering at their own risk? Let us open the doors and see. Up first, our mercenary captain, wearing heavy armor, shield, and sword. He is none other than Logan Howlett. And yes, he does have the shield. Traveling alongside of Logan, his trusty friend, champion, wielding two-handed weapon and light armor, Magnus Eisenhart. Also has a wicked mustache. Next, two young bloods, both with shield and spear, Nathan Christopher and Henry Phillip. Those are our heroes. Now on to our henchmen. Two marksmen with crossbow, Kurt Wagner and Lucas Bishop. Lucas has the fancy feather, a little bit flamboyant. Next, our warrior with hammer and shield, Robert Drake. Also wearing plaid pants, not one to mess around with. We also have our warrior swordsman, Warren Worthington, wearing light armor, shield, and sword. Emblazoned with the twin-tailed comet, surely will bring us luck. And finally, a hired hand, warlock, and friend of Logan, Francis Xavier. So there you have it, the Hellspire Club. Off for fame, fortune, weird stone, and hopefully to maim and injure many a foe.
Okay, so here's a brief introductory video to my Mordheim warband. It's an undead warband, and the name of it is Better Off Undead, and it has 8 figures in it. The leader of the warband is Baron von Drool, my vampire, who is armed with a sword and a dagger, and that's Baron von Drool right there. We also have Pavel Rotlov, the necromancer, and he is armed with a bow, though it's not modeled on him. He can't really do much in close combat, so I figure we'll just keep him at range and cast spells if he has them. We also have a couple of dire wolves. These are the Dogs of Drool, and we have 2 of them. They're basically my old fantasy dire wolves that I painted many years ago. And we have a couple of ghouls that are called the Rotters. Here's one, and here's the other. And I don't have any models for dregs. I'm waiting on getting those, but for now we'll just use a couple of old, these are Sartosan zombie pirates, I think, that I haven't yet painted, and I'm awaiting some fanatics from the Fantasy Citadel line, but that's what I have so far, and I've also got a random assortment of other things, extra wolves, extra ghouls, and I've got a bunch of zombies that are painted up here to use if necessary. Hopefully I'll be able to get some zombies and add a little more variety to the warband at some point. But that's basically what I've got for my warband.